All right, my friends, welcome. Excited to be back in this virtual yoga space. And today we're going to be working on our hips. We're going to be getting into our hips. But before that, we're just going to take a moment to drop in, to get present. So if you want to find yourself in a comfortable seat, I'm sitting up. You might have seen me grab. I'm sitting up on a block like this underneath my sit bones, and then there's a blanket just to lift me up a little higher. If you have a block and a blanket or a block and a pillow, you can do that. You can also just stick something underneath you, or if you need to, sit cross-legged. Pull the flesh away from your sitting bones so you can really be upright. Go ahead and close your eyes. And together, let's take a deep breath in. Open your mouth, let it go. Breathe in whatever's happened already today. Breathe out, let it go. One more just like that, big inhale. And complete exhale. I'm just using the next few moments to do a quick body scan. And notice how you're showing up to the mat today. So you can go head to toe, noticing if you're tight or tense or sore or tired, or maybe you're feeling really energized, excited, open, not passing judgment, just noticing where you are at. And spending an extra moment connecting to your hips, whatever that means for you. This big joint in the bottom half of our bodies. Noticing if there's any tension or tightness there. Noticing how aware you are of this part of your body. And just taking one more breath in. And one more breath out. Opening your eyes. And let's come into a tabletop position. So for those of you who have joined my live virtual classes before, you might know this, but I have an iPad set up here. The computer's a little far for me to see, especially without glasses on. But I'll be looking at this to check in. If you want to set yourself up so I can see you, I can give you some feedback. And also, if you don't want to be seen, that is your prerogative. It's all up to you. So find yourself in a tabletop position, hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips, and really plug the tops of your feet into the mat. And we'll just start with a gentle cat and cow. So as you inhale, drop your belly, lift your heart, lift up. As you exhale, coil and round, press the floor away. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the heart, look up. And exhale, coil and round. And you can stay with this pace, or you can start to speed it up. And as you move through your cat and cow, I just want you to connect back to that region of the hips. So this movement is really being driven from your pelvis, tilting forward and back. And the rest of the spine follows suit. So again, if you want to speed it up and fire it up and really kind of kick your own butt, you can, or you can keep going at that more moderate pace, creating some fluency, some movement, some energy in the hip joint. Taking another few here, and then coming back through center, finding your neutral tabletop. Bring your left knee in towards the center of your mat, and your right leg is going to swing around. So the left knee is going to snuggle in behind the right, and the feet go wide. So you're creating like a triangle with your knees and your feet. See if you can keep your hips over your knees. So I know I tend to sit my hips back, but really keep the hips over the knees. And then you can stay right here. If you'd like to stretch out the wrists a little bit, you can flip the wrists around so that the wrist creases point towards the front of your mat. Micro bend in your elbows. So we're not locking the elbows. Yeah, Ingrid, bend your elbows a little bit more and shift your shoulders forward. Yeah, and then start to take big circles with your hips. So you can imagine that you are like you're baking and you're trying to get the batter out of the bottom of your, whatever your mixing bowl is, that you're doing that with your hips. So you're really getting all the way around and getting into all those little corners. And then keep looking forward. So there's a bit of a back bend here, and you are bringing your awareness to your tail, your awareness to your hips, but you're still looking out in front of you, broadening through the collarbones. Yeah, and then switch directions. So go counterclockwise. Notice if one way is a little bit easier or a little bit harder. And I don't know about you, but I immediately just started sweating. Sometimes when we get into the hips, even if it's not like a vigorous movement, it can create some heat in the body, letting go. Okay, come back through center. Flip the palms around, don't shake them out, just plug them right back in. If you had them flipped, walk them forward about a handprint, and then the left leg is gonna swing in front. So we're gonna come into that shape on the second side. Right knee snuggles behind left, and then again, feet go wide. You can keep the hands underneath the shoulders, you can flip them like we just did, or if you'd like to, you can interlace the fingers to the webbing and place them underneath your sternum. Just a different thing to experiment with. And then let's start going circles in a counterclockwise direction. So taking those hips around, still looking forward, still keeping the collarbones wide, and getting a little loose in that lower body. Continuing to breathe, continuing to look forward, and then switch directions. So go the other direction. Just creating some movement and some fluidity in the hips. Beautiful. Come back through center, plant your hands forward, unwind your legs so you're back in that tabletop position, and we'll just go forward and back a few times. So cat and cow, you can take it fast, whipping yourself up, or you can go a little bit slower. You choose what you need. Do you need to kick your own butt, create some heat, or do you need to slow down and stretch it out? And then take another round in and out. Come back to your tabletop. Tuck your toes and send your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Right away, we're gonna measure this out. So come forward to your high plank pose. Your shoulders are over your wrists and your heels reach back. Yeah, so you might need to, I needed to walk my feet back a little bit so I was really in that plank. And then that's where your hands and your feet are for your down dog. So bend your knees, lift your hips up and back for your downward facing dog. Press into the floor. So press the floor away, lengthening out through the spine, through the sides of the waist. And imagine that somebody were lifting your sitting bones up. So as much as you're rooting down, you're also lifting up. You're getting a nice stretch in your side waist. Inhale, come forward to your plank. Look forward, collarbones spread. And then exhale back to a dog. So here we're hinging in the hips. We're doing a different movement in the hips. One more time, inhale, come forward to your plank, keep firing those heels back. And then downward facing dog, hips go up and back. Really finding that hinge. The hips can move in so many different directions. We're gonna be playing with a number of the different directions today. Walk your feet in a little bit, walk your hands in a little bit. We're gonna take a twist. You can also just stay in your down dog if you're not feeling a twist today. The left hand will stay where it is. Right hand will reach for outer left heel. Keep the hips up and back, so don't let that right hip drop. And then start to twist. Your vision will go underneath the armpit and then out towards the left hand. Keep lifting up through the hips. Keep pressing that left hand into the mat, lengthening out through the spine as you twist. And then take it to the other side. So right hand stays down, left hand to right outer heel. Keep the hips even as you start to look underneath your right armpit and then out past your right hand. Lift the hips up as you twist. So you lengthen and you twist. Come back through center, walk it out to your plank pose. And then drop your hips for a modified upward facing dog. The heels fire back, the heart reaches forward, the collarbones wide. Don't drop your hips too much. There's still activity in the legs. And then send it back to a dog. Notice how my knees stay bent, and I'm again hinging from that hip joint. Inhale, come forward and through, modified upward facing dog. Toes stay tucked, heart lifts, shoulders wide. Downward facing dog, hips go up and back. And then one more time, inhale, come forward and through, modified upward facing dog. You can stay here for another moment if you'd like. I know for me, this feels like a nice, abdominal stretch, core stretch. And then send it back, downward facing dog. Walk from hand to hand, foot to foot. Find your downward facing dog. And then step your right foot in just enough so the heel goes down. You can keep a slight bend in the knee. Lift your left leg up. Bend your knee, open up your hips. You're like a peeing dog. That's what my first yoga teacher called it. But keep lifting up through that right hip. So don't let yourself collapse into the right side waist. Stay long. You can come up onto your fingertips if you'd like. I find that makes it easier. Stretching out through that left side. And then drop the left foot down. Take the right leg up. So you're just going to take that peeing dog, that one-legged dog on the other side. Right leg lifts. Bend the knee, open up the hip. Keep lifting up through that outer left hip, resisting the urge to collapse in that left side waist. Drop the foot down. One more time, walk it out to your plank pose, shoulders over your wrists, and then send it back to a downward facing dog. Nice. Step your right foot forward and drop your back knee down for a lunge. So we're just gonna keep moving here. Untuck the back toes, the top of the back foot plugs down, and make sure that your right knee is underneath, or your right ankle is underneath your right knee. If you have a block, you can use that as like a measuring tool. Also, if you're looking at your camera, if you're on the call live, you can see the stacking of the joints, and we wanna keep that here. Really pressing into the top of that left foot, reach your arms forward and up for a lunge. Grab for opposite elbows. Notice what happens when you come into this shape. Do your hips start to open up? We want to keep the hips, if you imagine a clock around your pelvis, you want to keep the hips at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So to the east and to the west. So for me, that means I need to pull that left hip forward and that right hip back. Really engaging both of my legs in this shape. So lifting up, opening up through your heart, maybe your vision lifts a little bit. These look so good from what I can see. And then release your arms down, hands down to the mat. We're gonna stay on this right side, especially since this is a shorter class. We're gonna work the right side, and then we're gonna work and open up the left side. You're gonna walk your right foot out to ballet first position. So it's gonna turn 45 degrees to the right. And then you're gonna bring, you can stay up on your hands, of course, if this is a lot for you. If you do have blocks, you can also bring your hands. A modification is to bring your forearms down to the blocks. But what we're working towards is forearms down to the mat. Now, if I just bring my forearms down to the mat here, it's kind of a lot. And my arms are slightly out to the left. So kind of like going towards 10 o'clock, if I have that same clock metaphor. If I tuck my back toes and lift my knee, I have a little bit more space here. So you can do that. You can also stay up on your fingertips, and then just find a little bit of movement. So you can rock forward and back here. Keep a bit of a back bend. So instead of looking back and rounding your spine, you're looking forward and out. Beautiful. These look so good. It's like a little grasshopper or cricket shape. Just starting to get into a different place in the hips. Nice. And then drop that back knee down. Come up onto your fingertips. Keep that left hand slightly out to the left. Version 1 is just bringing the right hand to the right thigh. So I'm just going to turn a little bit so you guys can see what I'm doing here. Right hand to right thigh and start to press it open. while keeping that right foot rooted down. If you'd like to take it further, you can bend in the back knee, reach for the foot. So you're reaching for the left foot with the right hand and start to kick that foot back. So this is a big, big stretch. Oftentimes we see this as like a quad stretch where you're pulling the foot towards the butt. Today we're kicking the foot away to get deeper into the hips. And then if you do this, you can look down at your sternum and bring your vision up to there. So you turn almost into this big circuit shape. Unwind that bottom shoulder wherever you are. So lift up and out. Good. So nice. Yeah. And then gently release. Bring the hands down and we're gonna come into a pigeon. So this is where you might wanna grab your blanket, or if you have a pillow, you can grab that too. If you have blocks, you can also use blocks. Uh-oh, my blanket got twisted. That's always a problem. And especially if you know you have tighter hips, you might want to pile a few things up. So you could do a blanket and a pillow, a big pillow. If you do have a bolster, you could use this. But the right foot will come over to the left side of the mat and both hip points will come down towards the mat or to your blanket. I like to tuck the back toes and use that activity in the legs, that active leg, to pull the left hip forward. Again, working towards 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock with the hips. Starting to walk yourself down. We're not gonna hang out here for too long. We'll be here for a few breaths, a few different variations. If you're watching this replay and you wanna stay in pigeon for a couple minutes, you can pause the video. If you tuck the back toes, untuck it. And just give yourself a moment in pigeon pose. If you have a block and you want to bring a block underneath your chest or underneath your head, that is a great option. And just giving yourself a few breaths in this shape. Keeping the jaw and the shoulders soft. Noticing what might be coming up. And we're going to continue to move. So come to walk your fingertips out. And then we're going to go over to the knee side. So you're going to walk your fingertips like a big arc over to the knee side. So over to the right and reach out. This is not so much like how far to the right can you get, but you want to reach out, especially through that right hand, that right arm. Drop, keep rooting through that left hip. So you're really rooting through your pelvis and you're lifting up and out. You can breathe into that left side waist, the stomach, the spleen, the pancreas. And then walk your fingers back through center. We're gonna come into a double pigeon pose, everyone's favorite, right? You're gonna swing the left leg around so that it stacks on top of the right. I'm gonna turn to face the camera so you all can see me. So this is known as double pigeon. Some people call it fire log pose. There's also a Sanskrit name, but we will call it ankle to knee. And the reason we're gonna call it ankle to knee is that's what you're doing. Your ankle is gonna stack over your knee over your ankle. If one knee is up, that's totally fine. Pull the flesh away from your sitting bones so that you can send your pelvic floor straight down and feel rooted in your sit bones versus like rocking back or tilting too far forward. I think most of us tend to like rock back more. Good, and then here, once again, grab for opposite elbows above your head. Create that frame for your head. You can stay right here if this feels like enough for you, but we're doing hips today, but I also liked some of this sideways movement. We're gonna take some circles. So let's go in a counterclockwise direction. So it might look different on your screen, but go towards the left, towards the center, and then over to the right, just with your torso. Try and keep that pelvis, the hips right where they are, rooting them down as you move through your upper body. Breathing in and breathing out. And then coming back through center one more time, rooting through the hips, lifting up. If you want to take a little bit of a back bend here, just going up and back, maybe lifting your vision, that can be nice. And then release your hands down. Swing that left leg behind you to come back into your pigeon, and then step it back to a downward facing dog. So you'll just unwind into your downward facing dog. If you want to move your props, we're going to bring it into the second side, so we won't need those for the first few postures. In your dog, you can roll out to your plank, to your modified upward facing dog. You can lift one leg, you can take a twist. Allow yourself a moment here, maybe feeling the difference in between your two hips. Maybe you feel something different, maybe not. And then step that left foot forward to your left thumb. Drop the back knee down, coming into our lunge. So back foot untucks, top of the foot presses down, left heel is right under the left knee. Reach the arms forward and up. Grab for opposite elbows, so the one that feels a little awkward to you. Once again, find your hips at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So imagining that clock face beneath you, squaring off those hips. And you can let yourself sink down, but this is still an active pose. So if you know you're someone like, I can go super, super deep in this pose, my work is to not go so deep, is to find more boundaries. If you are way up here and you feel a little tighter, press that edge and go a little bit deeper. Good, release the hands down, hands inside of the foot, and the left foot turns out 45 degrees. So left foot out to the left, 45 degrees, like a ballet first position. And then we're gonna come into that modified lizard shape. So the forearms come down to the mat. You can also stay up on your fingertips. Play with this here. I find that tucking the back toes and lifting the knee provides a little relief from the intensity of the pose, and also gives me space to move around the hips a little bit. So you can try that, or you can stay up onto your fingers, onto your hands. Keep looking forward, stretching the heart forward. Nice. And then drop the back knee down, untuck the toes. Keep the right hand slightly out towards the right. The left hand can come to the left knee, open it up, and really open up. Not so much of a crank and like, how deep can I get, but how much space can I create, not only in my hips, but also in my spine. You can stay here, or you can reach that left arm back, grab for the right foot, flex the foot, kick the foot back. And then your vision goes, and this is true of most of our back bends, your vision always goes straight from your sternum. So you can look down at your sternum and then follow that trajectory up like a rainbow. Not disembodying the head and just swinging it back, but keeping the head a part of the pose, a continuation of the back bend that actually starts in your foot, it starts in your hip. Take another breath in here, and then release the hands down, walk the foot back. We'll come into pigeon, so you can bring your blanket underneath you if you'd like, or your pillow, or whatever prop you have. And then you can tuck the back toes, use that activation of the back leg to square off the hips, 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And then release the foot down, so the foot roots down, and come down into your pigeon. Rooting back for your hips. So if we were in class together, one adjustment that a teacher might give, or that I might give, is just to help you root your hips back by placing my hands on the lower back, on that hip joint. You can use your imagination to feel into that energy, to feel into that adjustment here. And if you want to pause this, if you're watching the replay and stay in your pigeon a little bit longer, you can, but we're going to keep going. So walk your fingertips out, and once again, make an arc over to the knee side, so over to the left side. Eventually, the belly button meets the thigh. It doesn't matter if it's there right now. lengthening out through both sides, looking forward, keeping those hips rooting back, lengthening forward. And then walk your hands back through center, come to sit up on it, and we'll come into our double pigeon. So the right leg will swing around. Once again, I will turn. Right leg on top, ankle to knee. Pull the flesh away from your sitting bones. And once again, reach your arms up, grab for opposite elbows. You might notice that one side is a lot different. For me, I can just see it. My knee is totally down here. There's no wrong or right. It's all just good information. And then this time we'll take our circle in a clockwise direction, keeping those hips rooted. And you can make this as small or as big as you'd like. So if you make it a little smaller, you get more into like the diaphragm, the upper lungs. And if you make it a little bigger, you're really working the core, the obliques. Even, I would say, the kidneys a little bit, you're giving them a stretch. So you do what you need today. You can also just stay lifted. Taking one more circle wherever you're at, we'll all meet back through center. Big breath in here, maybe lifting the heart, lifting the vision, taking a little bit of a back bend, and then exhale, release. Send that right leg back to your pigeon and then back to your downward facing dog. You'll unwind, coming into your last downward facing dog of this class. Downward facing dog. Again, you can roll it out to your plank, to your modified upward facing dog, if that would feel good for you. Or you can pause in your downward facing dog. And then you'll drop your knees and come to sit. We're gonna take one final shape before we come into like a little seated ending. We're gonna come into a wide-legged forward fold. So I just grab my blanket and I put it underneath my sitting bones to give myself a little lift. You can see that my knees are bent, my feet are flexed, and that way I can really pull the flesh out from my sitting bones and find my perineum pointing down. From here, you'll start to walk your hands forward, and you can stay up on your fingertips. You can come down onto your forearms. Try to keep a back bend, a lift in the spine, and notice what your feet tend to do. If they just splay out or they drop in, keep the toes pointing up. Means you're staying in the hip crease. Taking a breath in here and a breath out. And then you'll walk the right hand over to the right. You can either be down on the forearm or you can keep the arm lifted. Left arm will reach up and over. Nice side stretch here. Breathing into that left side waist. And then left hand will drop down either up onto your fingertips or you can come onto your forearm. Right arm reaches up and over, stretching in that right side waist. One more time each side. Right hand comes down. You can come down onto the forearm. This time, if you'd like, you can use that right knee to press into your shoulder. Maybe you go for the bind and you can reach your right toes with your left hand and look underneath that left armpit. And then taking the other side, left hand comes down, either fingertips or forearm. Right arm reaches up and over. Use your leg, use your knee as a boundary to help open yourself up. Maybe you grab for the foot and look underneath the armpit. Inhale, come back through center. Reach the arms up. Release them down and bring the legs together. Come back into a comfortable seat. So however you started, you can grab onto your block, your blanket. You can sit cross-legged. However you started this practice. Remove the flesh away from your sitting bones. Go ahead and close your eyes. Closing your eyes, tuning in. And we'll take a moment here to do just a final breathing technique. It'll be a 4-part breath, an inhale for 4, a hold for 4, an exhale for 4, and a hold empty for 4. We moved, we twisted, we opened, and this will be just a nice way to recalibrate, rebalance, so that you can continue on with your day. So you'll just follow the sound of my voice. Take a regular breath in and a regular breath out. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold empty 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold empty 1, 2, 3, 4. One more round. In 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4. Hold empty 1, 2, 3, 4. Regular breath in. Regular breath out. Taking a final moment just to acknowledge yourself for taking this time for you, for showing up. Acknowledging any shifts or changes that you notice in your body, in your energy, in your breath. And then when you feel ready, you can open up your eyes. Thank you all so much for joining. Like I mentioned, I will stay on for a minute or two. I'm just going to stop this recording.